What's up?
Hello.
Podcast number 1 from our yet-to-be-named podcast. We're not very creative, so anybody got any ideas for one, let us know.
Yeah, just let us know. So we're going to talk about the NCAA College Football Top 10. Number 10 for the preseason is going to be good old Notre Dame. What do you think about it?
Well, Notre Dame's one of those programs that the media seems to be biased towards. They're one of the blue bloods, so they're always going to start out in the top 15 probably, even if it's unwarranted, which I think it always is, because anytime they ever get into the playoffs or play a good team, they get, demolished. So I just think that, I don't know, maybe that's my hate for Notre Dame. Plus, it's my hate for preseason rankings anyway. I don't think you should rank teams till they play at least 3 or 4 games.
I mean, it's Notre Dame, so they're always going to. And it may make people mad. I don't care. I mean, maybe their schedule's going to be a little harder this year, and it is, and we'll talk about a few of those games. But when you don't play anybody, you can get into the whole fact that they're a non-conference team. Just I don't like, for the simple fact the basketball team's in a conference, and if they're going to play one team in a conference, both teams, both sports should be in the conference. I just don't agree with it, because every time they do good, like you said, they end up running into a team that's played a tough schedule, that's better than them, and then they just get thrashed. I mean, it's evident. We've seen it in the national championship game against Alabama. That was terrible.
Playoffs last year.
It's just a joke. No offense to Brian Kelly. I think he's a great coach, and they have some good schemes, and things happen, and they do good. But it's easy to get to the number 4 when you start out in the top 10 every single year, and your schedule is weaker than dishwater. It's just easy.
Well, they have the conference tie-in with the ACC, but the ACC is a weak conference. So, I mean, you're playing Wake Forest, and you're playing.
Well, that's true, but then you got to think too. The ACC, they have a weak conference, but they still have to play. You play what? They play 4 ACC games a year, or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember.
And then
exactly.
they end up playing. And if you're an ACC team, you still have to play all those teams in the ACC. Then you still have an ACC championship game, conference championship game, which Notre Dame doesn't have to partake in. So
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
But, I mean, look at their ACC games this year. You got, Virginia Tech, that might be a little bit tough, but Boston College and Virginia and Louisville.
NC State's on there. NC State. No, it's
No,
Stanford.
that's Stanford.
I didn't see it. Sorry.
Yeah, but, come on.
And Louisville, no offense, Louisville's been a good team in the past. They were really bad last year. Shout out to my cousin, who's the offensive coordinator and offensive line coach there. But I don't think this is the year that they bounced back. They got Satterfield. Obviously, he did some great things at Appalachian State, but I just don't think it's the time. And
you lose Lamar Jackson and you lose your entire offense, and that's what happened to them last year. They just couldn't get anything going. Yeah. But
look here.
They're playing New Mexico.
That's a win. They're going to start the season 2-0, I think, and then they're going to get absolutely demolished by Georgia.
At Georgia, game at Georgia.
That's not going to be good.
Yeah.
Virginia is not a weak team. I'm not saying they're top 25 or nothing. No. They're not a weak team.
Notre Dame should handle that for sure.
Yeah, Bowling Green, that's easy.
Easy win.
USC, there's another overrated team every
year.
Yeah,
and here's the thing. I hear people with Notre Dame, they're always like, they always have one of the toughest schedules because they play USC every year. But USC's not what they used to be. We're not talking Reggie Bush USC. We're not even talking, not Andrew Luck, but we're not even talking like, what was that quarterback? Like Mark Sanchez USC. Even they were decent.
Yeah.
But, this is just not – I don't know why they continue to – I guess because of the tradition of that game and the history of the game, they keep scheduling it. But, if you want to prove yourself through the year and actually earn your way into the playoffs, you need to get better teams scheduled. And Michigan, they're probably going to lose that game.
That's preseason number 6. Virginia Tech, like you said, could be a close game. Duke, I don't know.
Yeah, Duke's always up and down. Cutcliffe's a good coach, but you just don't get the talent at Duke.
Right. Navy, I just don't see it. I think they'll beat Navy. Boston College, about positive they'll beat them. Stanford might be a loss there. So all the Notre Dame fans, you can be haters. Yeah, your schedule's a little tougher this year maybe. You got, at least you put Georgia in there.
Yeah,
you always play.
Seems like you're trying to make it a little bit harder,
yeah.
But you're not trying. Without the conference tie-in, where you, like you said, you have to play the conference championship game. I just don't like Notre Dame because the whole independent thing. If your whole sports, everybody except for football has a conference tie-in. I think the football should have to have a conference tie-in as well.
So we're going to predict them, 9-3, maybe?
Yeah, because Georgia's definitely, I think, going to handle their business.
Is that game at Michigan?
It's the Michigan game. Yeah, the Michigan game's at Michigan, so I could see that being a loss. So 2, and I don't know, there's 2 or 3 losses, I'd say. I don't think they make the playoffs this year, for sure.
Not at all.
Not at all. I just don't like Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, I like them in a sense. I love the tradition. Don't get me
Oh,
wrong.
yeah, for sure.
I said they're blue blood, but
definitely,
I love the tradition.
the history of them is,
Yeah.
Second to none. But, I mean, you can't.
Rudy, man.
You can't base everything based off of history. I mean.
I know. I agree wholeheartedly.
Even though they're coming off a playoff year and everything.
But let's don't forget now, and this is the thing that kills me with college football. It is a multi-billion-dollar sport. And I say this as somebody who loves college football. It's a multi-billion-dollar sport. Notre Dame has a cult following. And anywhere they go, any place in this country, they will sell tickets and people will be there. Don't ever forget, though, when we talk about this is a business. That's all the NCAA is. They can say it is what it is. It's a business.
Yeah. And have you looked up, the average ticket prices for Notre Dame? They're always
up there.
It doesn't matter who they're playing.
I never looked.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking average of $400 or $500 a ticket.
Yeah.
And they're playing UMass.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just crazy.
All right, number 9, we got Texas. Good old Longhorns.
Which I think that's kind of a high ranking, but, I mean, they played tough last year.
Yeah.
And I think they are. Sam Ehlinger, he's a good quarterback.
I think he's the early Heisman. Maybe not the favorite, but I think he should be in the top because he's going to have some good stats.
Yeah, he's going to have good stats.
That and obviously the Big 12 plays no defense.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's easy to rack up some yardage.
Tom Herman, what he did at Houston was amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's coming around.
I actually called Houston beating Oklahoma that year.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So it's.
I do like Tom Herman. He kind of walked into a bad situation at Texas. I mean, Mac Brown didn't leave too much for him, and
now he's here. He's at Carolina.
Yeah.
Good old Mac, come back.
Yeah. Come back, Mac.
Yeah. But they opened up the season with Louisiana Tech. That should be an easy win.
Oh, easy win.
LSU. I don't know. It's at Texas. It's a night game.
But LSU is
they're tough.
Everybody's saying they might possibly win the SEC West.
And if you win the West,
you're probably going to win the SEC.
If you win the West, you are the best.
It's hands down the West, and the SEC is definitely better than the East. But the East might be up and coming, but that's a tough game to call.
Yeah, that will probably be the marquee game.
It should be the marquee game of week 2. It should.
I would think.
7:30 kickoff.
It should be. Rice win.
Oh yeah.
Oklahoma State. I think that's a win.
That's tough though.
I
like Mike Gundy. But they don't. I mean, they haven't had Mason Rudolph, and
you still like Mike Gundy? Really?
I love Mike Gundy.
Even though he used you to get a raise?
Yeah. There's just some. Did you see the quote that he had where he's talking about his son coming to play for him, and he was like, "Well, I told him if he plays for me, I'm going to treat him like every other player.
Yeah. Right.
And if you don't like it, that's fine. If you're good enough to play, then you'll play. If you're not, you're going to sit on the bench. And I don't care what you say, even if I am sleeping with your mom." That's his quote. And I was like, that's great. I like Mike
Just
Gundy.
for everybody that don't know, Mike Gundy was in talks for the Tennessee job before Pruitt. And obviously Keith's a diehard checkerboard fan. And basically he used Tennessee to work himself a pay raise into Oklahoma State. Very smart businessman. I'll give you that. I'm just kind of surprised you still have affection for him.
No, I don't hate him.
Okay. West Virginia.
Like you said, it's a business.
It's a business. West Virginia, I don't know what they'll have this year.
That's no Will Greer. That's going to be tough. I don't.
Shout out to Will Greer. Hope he does get
best hair in college football. We just talked about Mike Gundy. He's got the best mullet. Dana Holgerson has the best comb over for West Virginia.
Terrible. West Virginia, though, I think they'll beat West Virginia because West Virginia historically has no defense.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, that's probably going to be I remember when it was the Red River Shootout before we got so PC. I guess you remember that. Now it's the Red River Rivalry. That's a tough game, man. Oklahoma, obviously we're going to talk about them here in a bit. That's an interesting team.
Yeah, and I'll elaborate on my Oklahoma when we get there. But
Oklahoma fans are not nice, by the way.
Yeah, and I think Texas can pull that off.
I do too.
Just because they've got –
Texas knows what they have for sure, I think, especially at quarterback. Oklahoma, we don't know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, what's going to happen. Like I said, I'll elaborate on that when we get to Oklahoma, but you just lost the Heisman winner in Kyler Murray. You lost your top wide receiver, Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, some people's going to have to step up,
Whereas
whereas Texas has, Ellinger coming back, and did they beat Oklahoma last year? No, they didn't, I don't think. It was a very close game. It was –
Oklahoma's in the playoff, right?
Yeah. So –
it was a good game. Kansas, old Les Miles going to be eating some grass down in Texas, but that's all he's going to be eating more grass. He's going to get
he's going to get a full mud pile where they're going to stomp his face in the ground.
TCU, I think they can handle TCU this year. I think they're Gary Patterson.
Which I like Gary Patterson, even though he used us for a raise a few years back too.
I like Gary Patterson. He's a good coach. Kansas State, obviously lost their longtime coach. I think there'll be.
It's going to take them a couple of years, but I mean, you just hired the Division II or no Division. It's the FCS, North Dakota State.
Yes.
Yeah, you just hired their coach. He's got multiple championships. So even though it's a lower division, he knows what it takes. He knows good football. He knows what it takes to win. But
it's going to take a while.
Is he going to be able to recruit to Kansas State?
I don't know. They're always a top 25 team. I'll give them that. Year in, year out.
But they have to use JUCOs all the time.
Yeah.
So
true.
I mean,
he knows FCS. Maybe you never know.
True.
I mean, if you can recruit to North Dakota State, for the love of God, sure you can recruit to Kansas State. Texas, Iowa State. Iowa State's listen,
they're always tough.
They're always tough.
Matt Campbell, he's a good coach.
And they just. I don't know. They always pull off some upsets. Maybe that's going to be one of them.
They play that really weird defense. And I can't remember what they call it, but it gives people trouble. It's this weird combo that's really hard to read pre-snap.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where if you don't watch the film and you don't pay attention, they can do some stuff to where it's going to give you trouble.
I agree.
So
that's another close one.
I mean, and it's in Iowa State. Not really a tough place to play, I don't think. But anytime you go on the road, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, Baylor, that's a win.
Yeah, it should be. I mean,
Baylor's probably just stay swept under the rug for that game. Texas Tech, Cliff Kingsbury's gone.
This is true.
Of course, he didn't do a whole lot when he did do some stuff there. He had some good teams. Kind of surprised he got an NFL job. That I know that's not the subject to this podcast right now, but that whole situation played out really weird to me.
But see, then he got fired from Texas Tech, right? And then he took
USC offensive coordinator.
Yeah, the offensive coordinator job. And like a week later, he's with the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, like I say, it's just really weird to me. I know he's got a lot of charisma, and he's a real popular guy, but I just don't. And
he was a hell of a quarterback when he was in college.
Oh yeah, he was great. It's just really weird for me to see him not be so successful at Texas Tech and then move to the NFL. Historically, a lot of coaches that move up, you got your Nick Sabans, your Steve Spurrier, a lot of those guys, Chip Kelly. I'm not saying they did good in the NFL. I'm saying that they're
maybe he's the reverse, where he didn't do good in college, but he could do good in the NFL, whereas Saban and Chip Kelly and them were great in college, but they suck in the NFL and had to come back.
That's right.
I mean, you might see he might have to come back as well. He already released Robert Kimdichie or whatever his name was because he came in out of shape, and I guess it pissed him off, so he just went ahead and released him.
So, number 8, the great Florida Gators. And
probably they're way too high. I think out of the top 10, they're rated the highest. That
you just going to hit me with a surprise tag like that?
Well,
you didn't tell me that going into this thing. You were saving that.
I think last year they overachieved. More. I mean, they were coming off of a 4-win season, and I think that they just had a lot of luck on their side. and I don't think they're as good as what everybody thinks they are. I mean, Dan Mullen's a good coach, and he did pretty good things at Mississippi State, considering Mississippi State's a tough place to coach. But
and this pains my heart. If you don't know, I'm diehard Gator fan, true and blue. But I really like the SEC media days. I saw a promise because Felipe Franks to me has really grown up. He talked different. He acted different. I could see he has matured. You can see that outwardly. He's really become a leader. Now, not to say that's going to carry over into his skill set. Those are things that are needed. But
everybody can be confident.
But is he the answer? And I don't know. I hope. We got Emory Jones sitting there just chomping at the bits.
But he doesn't have any experience, really.
Yet.
I mean, not any true experience.
Right.
He might have came in and took some snaps and some trash time.
I do believe, though, that LaMichael Pirine going to have a stellar year. I think he's going to be one of the top running backs in the conference. I really do believe that. And that's not me just talking from the heart of a fan. I think he's going to be good. But anyway, let's dive into this. We open up the 24th on a Monday against the U. And, man, I hope we just absolutely crush
Is that neutral site?
Or
is that at Florida?
It's one of the neutral site games, I do believe. But I think we can beat Miami. They got Tate Martell, is that his name?
Yeah.
Tate Martell?
Yeah, they got the transfer from Ohio State,
yeah.
which don't even get me started on the transfer rules. That's another podcast.
Yeah, but I think we can beat Miami. I do. I think we can beat them. Of course, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think our defense is good enough to beat Miami.
I think their defense is good enough to beat y'all.
I don't think they can stop the run.
Manny Diaz is a really good defensive coach.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
And maybe Miami just tapped into what Clemson was able to do, and go with the underdog, so to speak, for their coaching search.
That's true.
And they picked him because the players love him. It's the same reason why the Clemson picked Dabo Swinney.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a position coach. He wasn't even a coordinator. He was a wide receivers coach.
Yeah, but I think if you go down the list as far as coach stats, we have the better coaching staff.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, Miami's always going to get. I mean, they're recruiting in Miami or in Florida, which is a hotbed.
It is.
So even if you get the 10th best wide receiver in the state of Florida, he's still going to be good.
Oh yeah.
I think
it'll
be a good game.
I think we beat Tennessee, Martin.
Yeah.
The Kentucky game, I ain't gonna lie. I know everybody's saying we're gonna finish. I said a lot of stuff says we're gonna finish 10-3. I say us. I'm sorry, but I can't be unbiased. But they say we're gonna finish 10-3. And we'll talk about those losses, but Kentucky worries me because they're confident, they're hype, but I think they lost a lot. And and then last year, what really shocked me was actually at the Tennessee-Kentucky game.
Yeah. And
Kentucky just, to have achieved what they achieved last year, then they come into that Tennessee game last year. I was excited to go just because it's football, but I was excited to see Benny Snell. He was all the talk, and then he just did not perform that night at all.
Well, it's because that was their offense. Benny Snell did everything.
Yeah.
And Pruitt, being the defensive genius he sold out against Benny Snell because he wasn't scared of Terry Wilson.
Yes.
Their quarterback. He's not scared of him beating them over the top. He was confident enough with those freshman cornerbacks that we had to lock their receivers down enough to where...
Yeah, he threw, 3 interceptions that game or something like that?
It was a couple.
Yeah.
Definitely a couple. Because I remember Pruitt got mad at one of our players because he didn't go down immediately after the interception.
It was a great game. It just...
but that's
them.
why I think y'all should probably beat them easily because they lost their best defensive player to the draft. He was a first-round draft pick, I'm pretty sure, that defensive end. And they don't have Benny Snell anymore. So,
True.
I mean... That should be an easy win, in my opinion.
Then y'all come to the Swamp. I think we beat you this year.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Tennessee, Florida is usually, especially the past 5 or 6 years, it's always, minus last year, a close game. Y'all beat us 2 years No, we won in between, but the first year we had that pass that the dude ran, 60 yards for the touchdown at the end after we had scored to go up, and then 2 years ago, y'all won on the Hail Mary from Felipe Franks. So those games have been close. I think.
And the one where we were a couple years before that.
Yeah, where y'all were up like 27-3, 24-3, and we came back.
We went there. I guess it was the next to last year. What was his name? The coach before Pruitt?
Butch Jones?
Yeah.
I forgot about him too.
It was I think it was the next to last year he was there, right? When we were at the stadium and y'all beat us.
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, it was a 24-3 halftime lead for y'all when we came back.
The fair catch on the punt 1 yard line.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 yard line.
And
I was so mad.
Mr. Jawan Jennings juking teased Tabor out of his shoes for the touchdown.
This is true.
As he bobbled it down the sideline, and I about pooped myself.
Anyway.
But yeah, I think that's a closer game than what people are. Y'all are 16.5-point favorites right now, and I think that's way too much.
Maybe 10.
And depending on what we do the first few games, if we demolish BYU and the other teams, I think that line definitely comes down. And if y'all lose to Miami or Kentucky or something like that, it definitely comes down.
Towson, we beat Towson.
Oh yeah.
Auburn, that worries me. It is at Florida though. We got that going for us.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a tough game. That's a tough stretch right there of games for us.
Also, another team that we went in and surprised last year. Talking about true. Tennessee, so they're definitely beatable if you scheme against them the right way.
I believe so.
Stidham's not there.
No.
I'm not real sure what they have at quarterback.
It'll be a rebuilding year for them, probably.
Yeah, probably.
But I think we can beat them.
And I see a lot of people saying, Gus Malzahn,
on hot seat. That's what you're saying?
Very hot seat.
What's
he probably was close to being fired last year.
You're in the state of Alabama, I mean. So.
Yeah.
But I honestly, I think that we can beat Auburn. I do. I think we can beat them.
And they've got a lot of momentum going into this year because they absolutely demolished that team they played in the bowl game. I mean, they put up 50-something points on them.
Yeah,
so, but once again, that was last year's team. So
bowl seedings is another thing we'll have to talk about later. LSU, I think we lose. Just because it's at LSU, it's going to more than likely, if we perform the way we should the first half of the season, it's going to be a night game. And there's no love lost there. I just don't.
LSU at night's a tough.
I just don't think
atmosphere.
South Carolina, I think we can beat South Carolina. South Carolina, man, they got maybe one. Now, I ain't saying they're gonna hang. That ain't what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying they got like one of the hardest schedules.
They have the hardest schedule.
Well, I read a thing the other day actually that said that Wisconsin by number has the hardest schedule. No. But you look at South Carolina's schedule, man. Good Lord, they are. But I think we beat them.
They play 3 of the top 4 teams this year. They got Alabama, they got Georgia, they've got Clemson, and they got Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And one of their non-conference games is App State.
And App State ain't no joke, right?
No. So South Carolina, you know me, I don't like Will Muschamp.
You don't?
No. Because Tennessee's never beat Will Muschamp.
I know.
But did you see where he said, Clemson, we're not Clemson's little brother? Come on, man. I know you're the coach. You got to say that.
You got to.
But the only reason why you're even the second best team in South Carolina is because there's only 2 teams in South Carolina. You got South Carolina and Clemson. You put South Carolina in Texas, they're the 5th best team in Texas.
Yeah.
Behind Texas, Texas Tech, TCU, Texas A&M. I mean, yeah, I thought that was funny.
Then we go into Georgia, in Jacksonville. Now listen. Here's my thinking. Okay. I remember this when it was the world's greatest cocktail party when they used to call it that.
I think they still call it that.
Yeah, but my thing with this game is there's a rough stretch right here with Auburn. Then we go straight to LSU. Then we go straight to South Carolina. But then that game is on the 19th against South Carolina. We don't play Georgia again, or we don't play again until we play Georgia on the 2nd of November.
So you get a bye.
So I think maybe we might have a chance going into this game. Maybe. skill-wise, I don't know, but I think that with Dan Mullen at coach, I think he's got enough time. We're going to have a pretty long prep there for that game, and I think we got a shot.
And see, Georgia, they've got a bye week though too.
Yeah.
So I mean,
everybody's going to be fresh.
Yeah.
I'm saying we got a shot. I'm not, as much as it bothers me to do this, I'm not picking Florida. I think Georgia.
No, I mean, you got to be realistic.
Yeah, I'm being realistic.
Georgia is definitely the top of the East at the moment.
Yeah. Still got Fromm.
I mean, are they cheating?
I don't know.
What team's not cheating? But they're just doing it better than everybody else.
Yeah. There's one thing about Georgia, though. There's one thing about Georgia. If you're a lady, don't ever date a Georgia Bulldog because they'll never give you a ring.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Vanderbilt, I think, would beat Vandy. They've been good, though. Don't get me wrong. Derek Mason's done some amazing things there. But is he reaping the benefits of, oh, Lord.
Penn State's coach?
Yeah, him.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. We'll see. They'll be all right. Missouri, man. Missouri has been our kryptonite for...
yeah, they beat y'all last year, didn't they?
Yeah. And now they got Kelly Bryant. Is Kelly Bryant...
Drew Lock?
I don't know. I think he might be able to run the ball better than Drew Lock.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I don't think he can throw as good as Drew Lock, which is Missouri's MO.
Yeah.
Able to pass the ball.
And they got your old coach offensive coordinator,
Derek Dooley.
But to me, I don't. That's going to be a tough game. When I sat down this year and just did it, not just by myself, not talking to anybody, I had us losing to. Let's see here, Auburn, LSU, Georgia, and Missouri. So I had us losing 4 games.
Really?
Yeah, I'm hoping that's not the case. We'll see. I think maybe we might pull one of those games out. We might pull Auburn out and finish 10-3, like everybody's predicted.
Yeah.
But Missouri, a lot of people just seem to not be that worried about Missouri. Missouri's been our kryptonite, and they scare me.
But the thing with Missouri too is now that they got that postseason ban, they're going to be out to prove that we're good. And from what I've seen, other people say that that team has, rallied around each other, and
that's an interesting thing I was thinking about.
It's actually helped them bond.
Yeah, and it's going off subject a little bit, but I was going to ask you this anyway, whether it was on the podcast or not. They got the postseason ban. Does it surprise you that Kelly Bryant transferred there with the postseason? Does that shock you?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Why? I mean,
because he's not going to get to play in a bowl game. Does that?
Let's say, I mean,
or do you think it's going to help his NFL stock? Is what he's saying?
Well, Kelly Bryant is definitely one of the bigger name transfers that put his name in the portal, and he's going to go somewhere where he has the best opportunity to start. But also, wouldn't you want to go somewhere where you have the opportunity to, maybe make the playoffs or get to a good bowl game?
So, yeah, it surprised me.
I mean, considering he was, talking with like Arkansas and places like that, I mean, Arkansas is not
what they used
that
to be
good, but I mean, still,
yeah,
it's highly surprising to me.
Florida State, I think will beat FSU this year. I don't think they're ready. I think they made a terrible coaching hire.
Was it Willie Taggart?
Yeah, that was not a smart.
They're going off of what he did at USF.
Yeah, but it's a totally different beast.
Yeah, I mean, he went
to
Oregon
and did anything at Oregon.
No, he did.
They're not bad this year. They're just outside the top 10. And
yeah,
they're going to be good with Herbert coming back. Don't get me wrong. They're always good, and with Herbert coming back, they're going to be. I think they're going to move into the top 10 pretty early, and they're going to shock a lot of people this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, Willie Taggart to me is just not a smart hire. And I don't say that just because it's Florida State, and I hate Florida State. I just don't, you lost, Bobby Bowden. Obviously he retired, kind of forced him out of the way. And not a Florida State fan, but if you don't like Bobby Bowden, there's something wrong with you. He's a good kid.
I mean, Bobby, they robbed a store. They did, but they're good kids. They're good kids. They just made a mistake.
I like them, Bobby.
Yeah, but then you get Jimbo Fisher, who's just as likable to me.
Yeah,
I mean, I like Jimbo.
But money talks. It's a business. But
Oh yeah, for sure.
I got us going 9-4, 10-3. I don't know. It just depends. It's hard to say this year.
Yeah, I like I said, I think that they were the most overachieving team last year, and I think that's built them.
Yeah.
Maybe even set them up for failure this year, where now they're going to have all this confidence, but they're still not able to compete with the top tier teams just yet.
Just yet. I think we can finish second in the East, obviously. But,
yeah. Well, the East is really. I mean, who else is there in the East? You know,
Yeah.
so.
So now we got number 7, the Louisiana State Bayou Bengal Tigers. Anyway, and they're gonna be hard. They're gonna be good. You know,
Unpopular opinion. I
Yeah.
don't like Coach Orgeron.
really.
Yeah, I don't like him.
You know, they got the former New Orleans Saints offensive assistant and Joe Brady, and he's going to be the passing game coordinator and receivers coach, so he could bring some new looks to the offense. They always have a strong defense. That's never a question with LSU. They're going to be strong defense.
The real DBU.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that.
No, I'm saying.
That's some bull. But anyway, yeah, they're going to be good. Hey, man, you know, you may not like Ed Orgeron, but man, players love him.
Oh yeah,
They
I mean,
will run through a wall for that guy, and he's exciting. You know, and his press conferences are always good. And they're just tough. They got a tough environment at the stadium, one of the best home venues in college football.
Mhm.
And I hate to say that, but you know it really is.
And
And they
he's-
got a brand new multi-million-dollar locker room, man. They
Yeah,
don't have
but-
fancy places to sit, man. You know that makes you play better.
Yeah, that obviously. you
That
know.
does help recruiting, though.
It does help recruiting, which he's killing it right now. But Ed's always been a top tier recruiter, even when he was at Tennessee with Kiffin, and before that USC. Like he was one of the top recruiters every year. So it doesn't surprise me that he's
Right.
killing it on the recruiting trail. But
You know, there's a couple jobs there. I thought he could have got head coaching jobs before, and he didn't. And then you know he wasn't a shoe-in for the LSU job when he was there.
No.
You know, and so I mean.
well, he was a head coach at Ole Miss
Yeah.
and didn't do really well.
No, didn't
and
do
so you know that kind of left, I guess, a bad taste in some people's mouths. But
Georgia Southern, that's going to be a killing.
definitely.
I ain't even
And then we already talked about the LSU Texas game.
I'm really excited for that game. I'm not going to lie. That defense against that offense, that's going to be a good
Yeah.
game. We'll have to. I don't know. We'll have to see if Tennessee's got a home game or not. If not, we'll have to watch that one together.
Yeah, for sure. Northwestern State.
Who?
Exactly. So don't even have to talk. That one's going to be one of those, you know, stat padding games.
That'll be on the SEC Network if it's at 7:30. Just because nobody ain't gonna have another game.
Yeah. I mean, God Almighty,
So-
that ain't even worth watching.
Well, I didn't realize LSU's schedule was so slack. Anyway, well, they got Texas. I shouldn't say that. Anyway, they're going. You know, what we're going to say 3-0 maybe right there at the start.
Oh yeah, for sure. Vanderbilt.
4-0.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to go up to Nashville and
Then
just
they
take
get
care of business.
now. Listen, this game 5 is going to be tough. They got Utah State. I'm kidding. It's gonna be killer.
Utah State.
Then they got the Gators. I think they beat us. So they're.
You know what's sad? Tennessee played Utah State a couple years ago, and I was like legitimately scared for that game.
Yeah, well, Butch Jones used to be worried about every game,
Yeah.
brick by brick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think they beat us. Mississippi State, man.
Joe Moorhead.
I think they beat them.
Yeah, I mean they're going to beat Mississippi State, but Joe Moorhead, does he continue the Mississippi State, you know, well, not necessarily mediocrity, but overachieving like Dan Mullen did? Or,
I mean, Dan had them number 1, so it's hard. You know.
but I mean they had Dak Prescott,
They did,
which
which nobody else wanted by far. Now listen, that was a great recruiting job on his part because you know Dak could have went anywhere and played and been great. I believe that. Whether it's Mississippi State,
Yeah.
Auburn, Ole Miss, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, he would have been great anywhere. So, you know what I'm saying. But I think they beat Mississippi State easy. Auburn, I think they beat Auburn.
yeah,
Um,
especially it's at LSU. I mean,
yeah.
I really do think it's Gus Malzahn's probably final year. I don't think he's going to do what he needs to do to be able to get things done and keep his job. I think he's out this year, even though they just gave him an extension.
And then they roll into Tuscaloosa.
I think that's a push game.
It go
It's
either way.
hard. It's hard. I mean, obviously Alabama is, you know, the cream of the crop. Them and Clemson, but you never know.
Tagovailoa. Well, we'll talk about that when we get to Alabama. We'll talk. We're talking about LSU right now. Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't call that game. It's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, it'll be one you definitely want
If
to tune
they
into.
lose a game, I think that'll be the first game they lose of the year.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think.
Yeah, and that'll be that's got playoff implications
Huge.
for sure.
Yeah, because
Whoever wins that game is probably going to win the West. You might be able to sprinkle Texas A&M in there, but I feel like the West is going to come down to Alabama, LSU.
I agree.
And
That might be the SEC. Well, I can't say that because of Georgia. Never mind. Go ahead. I was going to say that might be the actual SEC championship game, but
well, no, it can't be.
I know that. I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
in retrospect.
Yeah. Whoever wins that's going to be the champion.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's the way it used to be anyway.
Yeah, they did. Mississippi, beat them. They'll beat Arkansas.
Yeah.
That Texas A&M game is going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
LSU and Texas A&M.
I said when Jimbo Fisher took the A&M job that he was probably going to be the one that took over the West. If you give him a couple of recruiting classes, I think he's the one that finally knocks Alabama down. And
I mean, Jimbo had success at Florida State, won the national championship.
Jimbo's really smart. Jimbo is one of the smartest offensive play callers in the nation.
Players love
Probably,
him.
maybe even the smartest. He's really good at scheming against defenses and making sure that the playmakers get the ball in their hand. And he's really good at developing quarter. I mean, look at Jameis Winston in the NFL now, but
Yeah.
look at him when he was at Florida State.
Oh, he was unstoppable.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So maybe a one-loss,
yeah.
1-2-loss LSU team, if not
Yeah.
undefeated.
The ceiling's undefeated, and the floor, I think, is 2 losses. I don't see them losing more than 2 games.
Right.
But
All right. Now
Stuff
we're on
happens.
to number 6, and it's a team I despise. I'll just be honest. This is not a podcast of unbiasedism because I can't do it. Is Michigan? I think I don't know. I'm not a Harbaugh fan. I just ain't.
they're one of those.
It's not.
Once again, one of those blue bloods that get help by the media because of their history. Harbaugh's proven that he can't win the big game, and yet here we are. They're right outside the top 5 again, and they lost most of their good players on defense, Devin Bush and a couple of the other guys. I don't see it.
Well, they got Laverne Hill back at cornerback. He's probably the best defensive player they're going to have this year. But they do have defensive coordinator Don Brown, and they got Shea Patterson back too on offense. So I don't know.
Well, he's the transfer from Ole Miss, but I mean,
I think if Harbaugh is going to win the Big Ten, it's got to be this year.
yeah, I mean,
He's got to do it in Ryan Day's first season. He has to.
But
But I don't
see-
think they're going to have a lot of drop off with him with Ryan Day.
no,
We'll get
God,
to Ohio
yeah,
State,
exactly,
but-
but I think just like Gus Malzahn, Jim Harbaugh is on one of the hottest seats in
Does it not have
America.
to be?
You have to be. Have they beat any of their rivals yet? They haven't beat Ohio State yet. I know that,
Right.
and they got absolutely demolished in that game last year.
I don't know about Notre Dame.
Or Michigan State, but I mean, I'm pretty sure he has a losing record against all their rivals, and combined, and that's something you don't do at Michigan.
Yeah.
And keep your job.
Harbaugh can't win the big ones.
Yeah, I mean,
it happened when he was quarterback in the NFL.
I mean, at Tennessee right now, you tell me we go, 10-2, but we lose to Alabama and Georgia. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Right now.
Right now,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But Michigan, they'll never be cool with losing to Ohio State and still going like 11-1 or 10-2. They'll never be cool with that. So that's one of those jobs that has really unrealistic expectations by their fan base, and
I agree.
yeah,
So, Middle Tennessee State
win.
Army. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah. I was going to say
Army-
that.
Army's good. They were good last year. Their defense was nasty.
Mm-hmm.
Now the defensive coordinator's gone.
Mm-hmm.
He's with Matt Brown at Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't say this lightly. Obviously, the recruits that Army gets is not the recruits that Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Texas, and all these other teams are getting. Just for the simple fact, it's the military academy. And I respect those guys at West Point, man. That is, to be able to play football, attend West Point, and obviously serve the country, which to me is one of the greatest things anybody can do. But that could be a trap game for Michigan. I'm
It
just
could
saying.
be
I'm just saying.
Army gave. I mean, they almost beat Oklahoma last year. They
Yeah.
gave them. a
Yeah,
run
we
for
were
their money.
watching that game on the ticker at the stadium, I do believe.
Yep.
Went into overtime, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah. So that could be a trap game. I think they can pull it off, but it could be a trap game. We'll just say I don't know how their defense is going to look without the defense.
Right.
Wisconsin, I don't know.
It's at Wisconsin.
Wisconsin's usually good, ish.
They've got that running back coming back.
Yeah. So it's hard. This is a hard one. Wow, I didn't realize that's going to be so hard with this. Rutgers, I think they can beat Rutgers.
Oh yeah, they'll definitely beat Rutgers.
Iowa now, you can't sleep on them.
Iowa's
Hawkeyes.
always tough. Them country corn-fed boys.
Yeah, they're always good. So we're not even predicting this. So they're going to start the season, I think, probably 2-0.
2-0.
Army will be tough, but I think they can do it. Wisconsin, that's a push game for me. I don't know. Rutgers, I think they can do it. So I say,
I think Michigan beats Wisconsin.
okay, going to Rutgers.
If they can
3-0,
stop that running back. Was it Jonathan Taylor?
I think. So they go into Rutgers. I think they beat Rutgers. That'll be 4-0.
Yeah.
Iowa, it's a tough game. I think
It's
they can
at
do it.
Michigan. I think that gives them the
So they're
edge.
5-0. Illinois,
I mean, they beat them.
yeah, 6-0.
Penn State.
I don't think they beat Penn State.
I don't
this
think
year.
so either.
I think that's their first loss. I think they beat Notre Dame.
See, I always hate that game because it's always a battle of two overrateds for me. So it's hard for me to ever pick that game. But being at Michigan, I think that gives them the edge over Notre Dame. I don't know.
I'm gonna let you call that one.
But then again, I can't even remember because we just went over Notre Dame. I can't remember who I said was going to win that game. Because, I mean, that's kind of a push game for me, too. I mean, it could go either way. Maryland.
It's at Maryland. But
I think they beat Maryland. Maryland, you know, they always upset somebody every year, but they got a new coach. He was the offensive coordinator at Alabama. But I think Michigan handles that one.
all right, Michigan State.
I don't know much about Michigan State this year, but I think it's at Michigan. I think Michigan can handle that.
Yeah. Indiana, I think they beat.
Definitely. And I think Ohio State beats Michigan again.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's at Michigan.
It has to be this year though, if Michigan's going to get it done.
Yeah.
It has to be this year.
And that's the game that's either going to make or break Jim Harbaugh's, season as far as being able to come back and coach anymore at Michigan.
Yeah. I think
Which
so.
sucks because he's a Michigan guy, and it's
Yeah.
always hard to come back to your alma mater
Yeah.
because, like, everybody asks, why don't Peyton Manning come coach at Tennessee? Well, Peyton Manning is a legend and loved at Tennessee. Why would he ever come back and ruin his legacy if he goes, and fails as a
Good
coach?
point.
So, I mean, yeah, he loves Tennessee, but I think he likes being revered there more
Yeah.
than, coaching.
I don't think they handle.
But that's it's just hard to go back to a team that you absolutely love and coach and fail, and now you're not remembered for what you did on the field as a player. You're remembered for how bad of a coach you were.
Yeah. It's something that always, and this is kind of off subject, but we're just talking. Ohio State, Michigan. This game, it's always bothered me, and I don't know why it bothers me. It don't affect my life in any sense, but the fact that it's at 12 o'clock every single year. It's always at 12 o'clock, right? And I don't understand that. Now, I ain't saying it's a huge rivalry. Is it the hugest rivalry in the country? I don't know. I think everybody, based upon your location, believes this game is
Yeah, if you're a Michigan Ohio State fan, obviously it's the biggest.
If you're a Big Ten guy, it's probably
Yeah.
the biggest. So why would you play it at 12? Why is it not a primetime game? That just don't make sense to me. I guess tradition. I don't know.
It has to do with a lot of these TV contracts and stuff like that. Like, I hate the fact that the best SEC game of the week is at 3:30. I love night games. Night games are where it's at.
Yeah, CBS.
Yeah, so that's the slot for CBS is 3:30. So
Money business. That's what it comes down to.
Yep.
All right, number 5, Oklahoma. Now listen, you don't have to agree with what we're saying, and feel free to share feedback. That's fine. I mean, we're just fans.
We're not experts and we're not insiders.
We're just fans that love college football like most of America.
Yeah. So I mean, these are just personal opinions, and we're probably going to be wrong 85% of the time.
We've argued for years. We just thought we'd just record it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Oklahoma. I think they got one of the best feel-good stories coming in with the quarterback, but Hurts. Some people say, he got done dirty. You got to think again. It's still a business. Saban had to do what he thought was right. Whether it was or not, I don't know. I mean, they won a national championship. Didn't do it last year, but I did see a thing that Lincoln Riley said that it's not a for sure that Jalen's even going to start.
I think that's just a motivational thing. I think maybe he's using that to get him to push harder. A lot of coaches do that. You'll hear coaches all over the country talk about, we didn't have a good practice. They could have had the best practice that they've had all year.
True.
But they're going to get up there and say, practice wasn't that good, just so the players don't get complacent. But my thing is, I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma because Oklahoma's a run and gun school. They love to pass the ball, and that's Jalen Hurts' biggest weakness.
And he's going into a really hard situation.
Following Kyler Murray
and Baker
Mayfield, back-to-back Heisman's.
That's rough. And, the thing about Oklahoma, last year especially, like I take like the West Virginia game, Oklahoma didn't. They outscored you. If this makes sense, they outscored you. They didn't stop you from scoring.
No, that's Big 12.
Yeah,
football.
If you were going to score 60, we're going to score 61. I don't think they can rely on that this year.
No,
I saw a stat where they allowed like 450 yards per game last year. That cannot happen this year.
Not with Jalen Hurts at quarterback.
And I like Jalen. Ain't nothing bad. I ain't saying nothing bad about him.
I mean, he's 26-2 as a starter, but that's at Alabama where you have a defense that you can rely on. You don't have to score every possession.
Right.
And so that's why I'm not sold, because his biggest weakness and why Tua got, the start last year is because Tua can throw the ball down the field.
I agree.
Jalen Hurts is a one-read and take off and run quarterback.
Yes.
He's like
and maybe Lincoln Riley can progress that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
and maybe the time he spent on
he's a quarterback guru, and he might be able. Maybe that system that Oklahoma has it works perfect for him. Maybe they are a one read team. If it's not there, then you just dump it off or whatnot. But I'm just not sold on it. And Oklahoma's so far been a perennial playoff team.
Oh yeah.
But they've had Baker Mayfield and they've had Kyler Murray and they've had this amazing offense.
Yes.
But every time they come across a team that plays defense, they have a little bit of trouble, minus the Georgia game a couple years ago where Georgia had to rely on a block kick.
And you say that, now last year they played in the playoffs. It was Alabama game one. And obviously we're going to talk about Alabama, but I think, going into the Clemson game, I think Oklahoma showed a lot of weaknesses because they gave Alabama everything they can handle.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. Lincoln Riley's a good coach. Don't get me wrong, but we'll see.
How long before he goes to the NFL?
Good point. Anyway, they opened the season against Houston on September 1st.
That's a win. Tom Herman's not there anymore. Right. They're going to go back to being a bottom seller team.
I agree. South Dakota, win. UCLA,
that's a win. Chip Kelly, I mean.
I like the powder blues, though.
Yeah. One of the best uniforms in college football. But, I mean.
We were doing a podcast on that.
Best uniforms, yeah. Chip Kelly, great coach. You got to give him time because UCLA just.
Well, I saw a report the other day, and obviously we're going off script again, but UCLA, the players really aren't responding to Chip.
And I saw where the quarterback's dad got on Twitter and blasted Chip Kelly about being, very unlikable, I guess. But that was last year. But that's what it boils down to. Even Jeremy Pruitt said last year, he came in as coach and at Tennessee, and he was so worried about having to fix everything that was wrong with the program that he admittedly said, the thing that I pride myself on is my relationships with my players, and I didn't have that last year because I was having to spend all my time fixing the actual program, nutrition, strength and conditioning, getting the weight room where it needed to be, and the practice fields the way it needed to be. And so he didn't have time to spend with his players, and towards the end of the year, the players that didn't relate with him were quitting, and that's why we finished kind of down at the end of the year. But he said, he's back on track now, and he's, because that's you talk to any player that's played for Pruitt, and that's what they talk about is how awesome of a guy he is.
I understand.
Yeah,
we always go back to Tennessee.
Yes, it's what I know.
But yeah,
But that's why it
ain't
makes
ready.
sense.
Chip ain't ready this
No,
year.
he ain't ready.
I think if he can work it out and stay next couple of years, I think he might be the top man again.
The good thing is the Pac-12. I mean, it's Washington.
I can't say they're weak no more. I can't say that. Jacob Eason going to Washington. They're going to be hard to handle. I think they're going to be harder for a lot of
I don't
people.
think there's much drop off there with.
No, Oregon's going to be good. I think they're going to be in the top 10 at the end of the season. They're going to be in the top. I think they're good.
Washington State, I think they're going to drop off just because Minshew's gone. But you never count out Mike Leach.
Can't count out Stanford. Yeah. So anyway, but Oklahoma, I think they beat UCLA.
Easily. I think.
Even if UCLA can score, they ain't going to be able to score enough to keep up with Oklahoma.
No. It'll be a double-digit win.
Texas Tech again. They're with Kingsbury gone. We'll see what happens, but I think that they beat Texas Tech.
Easy win for Oklahoma.
Les Miles loses again.
Yeah. Why does he go to Kansas?
I think he just loves coaching, man. I think he just likes to coach.
But I mean, there's so many top schools that probably would have hired him, and he goes to Kansas.
Yeah, that was odd to me.
Yeah.
Of course, now he did miss out on a lot of big jobs because he's still under contract at LSU. The whole buyout thing. So he did miss out on some top jobs to come open. But if you're, I don't know. I'm stuttering, but I go back to Urban Meyer. I have a love-hate relationship for Urban. Obviously, he was at Florida, one of the greatest Florida coaches of all time. 2 national championships.
And then Tebow leaves, and
yeah,
he has a bad season, and he just quits for health reasons.
And he's going to spend time with his family. And people can say what they want. I don't know if it's true or not, but I think that he kind of knew Jim Tressel was on his way out. And he's like, I'll broadcast for a year, then I'll step into Ohio
because
State, which is his dream job.
His reasoning was, I have health problems. I want to stay home and be with my family. And then he takes a job where he travels.
Yeah, again, we're off subject.
Yeah. But and now he's gone. He retires. And then Ohio State gets slammed and self-reports 22 recruiting violations.
Yes.
Is he leaving before the ship sinks?
That always happens, though.
Yeah.
Big coach leaves, that always happens.
Oh, yeah.
But, so they're going to start, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-0.
5-0.
Texas, there again, Red River shootout, I'll call it. Because that's what I
And I'm pretty sure I said Texas wins that game.
I think they do. I think Sam Maryland, I think they do it.
Yeah, I think so.
So that'll be their first
But
loss.
it also depends on how Jalen Hurts progresses. If he's even the starter, I mean, they don't really have anybody else. I think they have like a redshirt freshman, and then they've got Spencer Rattler, who was the number 1 dual threat quarterback, but he's not. He's going to be a freshman. So,
West Virginia, I think they beat West Virginia.
Yeah, West
Without
Virginia.
Will Grier.
Yeah.
Kansas State.
They'll beat Kansas State, no problem. Ohio State, it might be close at
Iowa
first.
State.
Iowa State. I think it'll be close at first, but they'll pull away in the end.
Baylor, they'll beat.
They'll beat Baylor.
TCU, they'll beat. Oklahoma State, big rivalry for them.
Yeah, but
Penn State, but I think they get it. So
Yeah.
you're saying they lose one game, lose to Texas?
yeah,
I see that.
I'd say
I can agree with that.
and then obviously they'll have to play the Big 12 championship game that they got now.
Now is Oklahoma and Texas in the same division?
It's not. They don't have divisions.
That's right.
They play everybody.
So they could end up playing again.
They could play again, yes, like they did last year.
Yes, that's a good game too.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we're saying 1 loss for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I hope Jalen Hurts has a good year. I do. I think.
Yeah, I mean, but
he
that
showed true character last year in the way he handled things.
I mean, you're 26-2 as a starter, and you lose your starting job. I mean, that doesn't happen.
No.
Ever.
No.
Unless you're Alabama.
Unless you're Alabama.
And you've got the luxury of having top recruits like that.
Tua. They had Tua.
Tua Tagovailoa.
That's it. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. Number 4, that burned Georgia Bulldogs.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
I know your brother's a big Bulldog fan. But
Yeah.
I'm not a big. Yeah.
But you got to give them credit. But you also have to go. Kirby Smart walked into a great situation.
Oh, he walked into the perfect situation, did he not? I mean, it was absolutely perfect.
I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Kirby, but he didn't have to rebuild a program. Normally, when you're a coordinator, your first head coaching job is a team that is, struggling.
Yeah, Dan Mullen, great coach. He came in Florida, was having a rough patch.
Jeremy Pruitt.
Jeremy Pruitt.
But see, Dan Mullen was already a head coach before.
That's
Kirby
true.
Smart wasn't.
And then
He was defensive coordinator at Alabama.
and I know some of y'all ain't going to remember this if you're younger and you're listening to this. There was a time when Alabama was not the top Alabama that they are right now.
No, they were terrible.
And Nick Saban come in.
Same thing with Clemson.
Yes.
All these teams that are at the top.
It's your favorite team.
Yeah. All these teams that are at the top had to rise from the ashes.
That's true. And it
takes a special coach to be able to do that. But Kirby Smart, not saying he's a bad coach, he took over a 10-win every year team.
Yeah.
All he needed to do was boost the recruiting a little bit, get the player development up a little bit more, and boom, you're in the playoffs and playing for national championships. You're not taking over a team that won 4, 5, 6 games a year and having to build it from scratch. So he definitely walked into a perfect situation. Not taking that away from him, it's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess. But you take Kirby Smart and you put him at Florida, and you put him at Tennessee, or you put him at UCLA. Does he do the same thing? Possibly, if he's a good coach, but there's plenty of great coaches and great coordinators out there that take head coaching jobs, and they're just behind the 8 ball, and they can't dig their way out of the hole that they've, been given.
I think we saw, and I might be wrong. Again, like I said, we're not experts, but to me, it seemed though, they were leading in the SEC championship game at one time against Alabama. They were leading that game.
Mm-hmm.
They were winning, and then they lost, obviously.
But they lost to a poor coaching decision.
I agree. But then, it was his responsibility as the head coach. You can say assistant coaches, this, players. You're the head coach. Like it or not, it falls on you.
Mm-hmm.
I understand they lost that game, kept them out of the playoffs, right? So I guess that's a total letdown. But you got a big bowl game coming up against Texas. You've got to get your team ready. You've got to get your guys up for this game. And then they just did not show up against Tom Herman in Texas, and Texas beat them. So are they going into the season hungover? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But to me, that showed his weakness of getting his team ready for the next big game.
Yeah, well, you also got this trend of players not really caring about bowl games. Like the playoffs have now kind of, if it's not playoffs, it's not worth playing. I don't want to risk injury.
Yeah, and we complained all this time over the BCS.
Yeah.
And then now we get this happening, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, they opened the season with a conference game.
No.
You ain't scrolled up. Oh, absolutely.
No, they do. Vanderbilt.
Oh, what's this?
That's last year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so they do. They open the season in conference on the 31st of August against Vanderbilt. That's a win.
Easy win.
At Vandy. Murray State.
Easy win.
Easy win. Arkansas State.
Easy win. So they're 3-0 going into their marquee matchup against Notre Dame.
Yeah, 8 p.m. game on the 21st. That's the same week as Tennessee Florida, I believe. But that's, to me, Georgia beats them.
Oh, yeah. And, like I said, night game, if they do the blackout, it'll be insane.
Yeah, Between the Hedges is
because Notre Dame's probably going to come in, a top 10 school.
Oh, they will be easy. Yeah, that'll be a marquee game, I do believe. And,
yeah, that'll be the game of the week that week.
Between the Hedges it's I hate to say it, it's a tough place to play. Then they go to Tennessee, go on to Rocky Top. Still love the call. We just stuck a hot nail. I like it, stuck a boot in their face, whatever he said.
The hobnail boot.
Yeah. But Tennessee sometimes surprises Georgia. You never can tell. I think this gives us an actual chance to talk about your Vols. Garantano, I think, is a good quarterback if he can stay up.
Yeah, everything goes.
He did a good job last year. He got beat absolutely to death, and that's not me hating on your team.
No. That's the Butch Jones effect, where the SEC is a line of scrimmage league. You hear that all the time. It's the truth. You got to have big bodies on both lines to be able to succeed, because it's a physical league. And then Butch Jones comes in with his Cincinnati, spread offense, and he's recruiting players that are like 260 to play on the offensive line, going up against Alabama defensive linemen. Yeah, linebackers are the same size as them in some instances, and so that's just a mismatch.
It is,
and we're just now starting to get the linemen that we need. That I think Pruitt said at SEC Media Days we had 2 offensive linemen that were 300 pounds or more when he got there, and now we have like 15.
Yeah.
So he understands what it takes to win in the league, obviously, but our season goes as far as the offensive line allows us to go. And also, if we can stop the run, our defensive line hasn't been that good. But I feel like we're going to probably have 2 freshman starters on the tackles, and they're going to take some bumps and bruises, but they're going to be better than what we had. I feel like coming in as freshmen. But
going back to Florida, I think Florida's a year or 2 out, maybe, from actually competing with Georgia, maybe winning the East. I think you're about 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Did recruiting classes wise, I just.
But I mean, if Georgia keeps
the way
snagging all these players,
man. Jacob Eason left. He's at Washington now, which we already talked about. But I think they beat y'all. I do.
Yeah, I mean, we played them hard last year, but I mean, we just had bad luck. I mean, you sack the quarterback, Darrell Taylor comes through, sack, fumble, and Nada picks the ball up and runs it in for a touchdown like 40 yards out. I mean, it's just we had bad luck. When something good happened, something twice as bad happened right afterwards. So, I mean, we played them tough, and I was surprised that we played them so tough. But I still think, we probably lose that. I don't think it'll be a blowout, but –
South Carolina, I think they beat South Carolina.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Kentucky, they're going to beat Kentucky.
They'll beat Florida.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. It might be better than what people think.
I don't think they blow us out either.
No, I think it's a good game.
I think so. Missouri, I think they beat Missouri. I don't think Kelly Bryant can handle that defense. I don't think he's ready for that. Auburn, I think they beat Auburn. I mean, it's on the plains at Auburn, but, I just don't think Auburn's got anything for Georgia. I just don't see it.
I don't see it either.
I just don't. Texas A&M, now listen. I don't know. Texas A&M is one of them teams. I've talked to a lot of people, and it's either people think they're going to be really good. It's feast or famine.
Yeah.
What a lot of people think with Texas A&M. And Jimbo, we've talked about him, when we talked about the Florida State game a little bit. I think they could lose that game, honestly. I think is probably the 3rd best team in the West better than the 1st team in the East? That's the question we're going to find out. We're going to find out just how far behind the East is from the West in the SEC. I think that game will show it. Because I think Texas A&M behind LSU and Alabama is the 3rd best team in the West. And they could possibly even beat Alabama or LSU. They might win one of those games. But that'll show us, I think that'll truly show us just how far behind the East has grown from the West now. The West is so stacked.
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous. I think you got, 3 of the better teams, not saying best, better teams in college football in the West. But Georgia could lose that game. It is in Georgia, and I'd say if everything goes the way Texas A&M wants to go, it's going to be a night game more than likely.
More than likely.
Unless it's the game of the week.
Yeah, the game of the week.
CBS game, but we'll see.
I say Texas A&M's definitely the lowest they are in the West is the 3rd best.
Yeah.
Are they going to be better than LSU? I don't know. Probably not, just because of
not yet.
But you put A&M over in the East, I feel like they're without a doubt they're at least the 2nd best team.
Yeah, so that'd be a good game.
Yeah.
I still think Georgia can handle it just because it's in Georgia.
It's at Georgia, yeah.
Then they'll beat Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Georgia Tech's always gave them trouble, but they don't have that triple offense anymore.
And they don't have the recruits to run the offense that he's wanting to run yet.
No,
obviously. But I think Georgia beats Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Georgia Tech's they were always tough with that triple option just because you don't ever, scheme for that. So
yes. And now we go to number 3, which is my friend Keith's one of his favorite teams, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
I don't have a problem with them anymore now that Urban's not there.
And it's funny, we just got done talking about Georgia, and now they got Justin Fields, who was the number 1 recruit a year ago, or 2 years ago, 2 years ago, at Ohio State. Is he Dwayne Haskins good? I don't know. Is he going to be good? I think he is. I do. I hate to say it. I don't know a whole lot about Jason Day, though. I don't know a whole lot about him.
He had to take over head coaching duties for, 4 games last year?
I think it was. Yeah.
And they won. Now, granted, they wasn't playing. Yeah. But they were still taking care of business.
Yeah. But you got to think, Ohio State, Dwayne Haskins is gone. Mike Weber's gone, the running back. Paris Campbell, top wide receivers, all gone. But there's some people saying that they could be better on offense this year just with Justin Fields and Jason Day. It's hard for me, it's another one of them things, the love-hate thing, but Urban Meyer, to me, is on the Mount Rushmore of college football coaches. Whether you hate him or you love him, he has to be up there on the Mount Rushmore. And to step into those shoes for Jason Day and think that the offense might be better under him than it was Urban, I don't know. It's hard to say. Well, time will tell, but I think they'll be good.
So you're saying Mount Rushmore of all time? Like in all of history?
Of college.
Of college football?
Yes.
That's a definite debate for a later time because
Really?
he's nowhere near that.
I can't say that word. You're crazy.
I mean, maybe in the past 20 years you could put him up there.
No.
But you can't put him up there over.
We'll talk about this later.
Yeah.
That's going to be podcast number 2.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be an argument. We had an
General
argument today.
Nealand is up there, not Urban Meyer.
No.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
You can't say that. We can't talk
Anyway,
about this right now.
yeah.
Y'all getting ready to hear us argue. And it gets pretty hot sometimes. Anyway, Ohio State opens up the season the 31st against Florida Atlantic. That's an easy win.
Lane Kiffin.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Uh,
He got a grad transfer, and I can't remember who it was.
did the guy from Morganton not go down there?
Oh, yeah, that was at Alabama.
Man, what's his name? If which most people that's going to even listen to this, if anybody does, knows where Morganton is. But anyway, man, what was his name? B.J. Inman.
B.J. Emmons, that's right.
So I think he's at Florida Atlantic. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure he's down there.
I'm pretty sure he transferred over there.
It'd be good to see a local kid do good.
Yeah.
Obviously I don't know the kid, but I'm pretty sure he's down there. So it'd be good to see him do good. You know.
But I don't think. I mean,
Do you
Lane
like
Kiffin.
Lane Kiffin? Do you hate Lane Kiffin?
No, I don't hate Lane Kiffin.
Even the way he left.
I hated Lane Kiffin for a long time, and then,
You like him more than Butch Jones?
I grew up. Yes, I grew up and realized like what Lane Kiffin did is no different than me being coaching at some school in Tennessee, calling me and saying, "Hey, you want to be our head coach?" USC was his dream job. He's a West Coast guy. That's where he cut his teeth coaching at USC. That was his dream job. I can't blame him.
Anyway.
So,
But okay. Anyway, I think Florida
and he's
Atlantic-
hilarious.
He is.
I love Lane Kiffin.
Oh, he's got
funny.
some of the best tweets out there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But Florida Atlantic loses. Then they play Cincinnati, in-state Ohio game. I think they beat Cincinnati
Oh yeah,
easy.
easy.
Indiana, easy.
Mm-hmm.
Miami, Ohio, easy.
Boom.
Nebraska.
First tough test.
I think it's Nebraska's year. It could be a good year for them. Or you think he's not got time to build yet?
Look, Scott Frost is a great coach.
He's amazing.
And I think he walked into a situation where he's got better players than he did at UCF. And he just had to have some time to install his – because they lost a lot of games early, but then towards the end, they started playing really good football.
Well, they were injury prone too. They got hit by the injury bug bad.
I think Nebraska is a team that you see take –
It's in Nebraska.
Yeah, it's in Nebraska. I think Nebraska is the team that you see take the biggest step
I like Scott
this
Frost.
year. Yeah, I was hoping Scott Frost would come to Tennessee, and I know
That's his
he was in.
dream job, alma mater.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I knew if Nebraska courted him, he was going to Nebraska.
Yeah.
But I mean, even Florida was wanting him real bad.
Yeah, and for some of you that are not, a long time college football fan, or if you're young, Nebraska was hard back in the day, boy.
Tommy Frazier.
Yeah, man, that option, boy, they'd run the ball down your throat. Anyway, I think Nebraska could beat Ohio State. And I say that, and I'm trying not to be an Ohio State hater. I'm not a big Buckeye guy. I'm just not.
Nebraska can definitely win that game.
I do think so. Did they do it? I don't know.
But I do think Nebraska is one of the
I don't know if
biggest
they're ready.
risers this year.
I don't know if they're ready yet, so I'm going to pick Ohio State.
Yeah.
So they're still undefeated so far. Michigan State, I think they
I
beat
think
them.
Ohio State handles them.
Northwestern, they're usually pretty good,
They're,
but I don't
they're
think
tough.
they're ready.
Yeah, they're not. They're not going to beat. They're not going to beat them.
They get lucky, I think, having Wisconsin at home. I think they beat Wisconsin. I think
beat Maryland.
They beat Maryland. They beat Rutgers. Penn State's going to be tough. It is at Ohio State. I don't know. I just, they didn't have Saquon Barkley last year, and I think it showed. How do you replace somebody like that? I don't know.
But
I don't
also,
think
they
Penn
don't
State-
have McSorley at quarterback.
That's true. I just don't think they can do it this year. I would
And
like
one
to
of their
think they could.
quarterbacks transferred to Mississippi State
Yeah.
to be with Joe Moorhead. So,
And it's hard to pull against Penn State because, besides what old Jerry Sandusky mess, people that wasn't even there, at the time, was probably in middle school, elementary school, and ended up playing for Penn State, was affected by that. and I didn't think it was fair. So it's hard for me sometimes to pull against Penn State just because of that. But I don't think they're ready. I don't think they do it this year. I don't think they got Ohio State this year. So they're still undefeated for us right now. And then Michigan, I don't know.
Once again, toss up. Jim Harbaugh is going to be coaching for his life in that game, and so he might pull out all the stops. But
They went into that game last year
undefeated.
Needed that win, and they choked.
Oh yeah, bad.
So
Choked real bad.
we'll see.
I mean, I was watching it and I was like, there ain't no way
No,
that Ohio State's doing this to them.
I think Ohio State beats them.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion.
So that'd be undefeated.
Until that game.
And if you think Ohio State beats them, they're undefeated in the playoffs because they don't play a championship game. I don't think.
I don't know. That's bad. We should know that.
I'm pretty sure they don't.
Why don't you Google that?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they don't because,
Like we said, we're not experts.
yeah.
We're just fans, really diehard fans. But yeah, Ohio State's it's gonna be a good game, I think. But if they don't play a conference championship game, they're one of the only conferences that don't.
Oh, no, they are. Yeah, they do play it.
I'm pretty sure all the top four do now.
Yeah.
Because you just about have to
Yeah, Big 12 didn't until
this past
this past year, I'm pretty sure.
or year before. One, I
Yeah.
can't remember.
But they still don't have, like, divisions. It's just, the top two teams play.
So we can see a Michigan Ohio State rematch. Is what you're saying?
No, because
They have divisions.
they have
You're
they
talking
have
about the Big
divisions.
12.
Yeah, I'm talking about the
Okay,
Big
I'm
12.
sorry.
Big 10 has divisions.
Okay.
And I don't know why I thought Big 10 didn't have a championship game.
Well, you got to
Because for some reason, I always felt like during the championship week, they were sitting, because everybody always talked about how they had a week off.
Well, you got to think too. All of our lives, for the most part, they never did. We've been fans, as long as we can remember, and for the biggest majority of that, they did not play a conference championship game. The Big Ten didn't, because there was obviously the Big Ten. It had 10 teams. And
Yeah,
they
yeah.
didn't have enough to have separate.
And and
divisions.
then they added the extra teams when all
yeah.
the expansions came
Yes.
through and stuff. And that's what brought the Big 12 down to 10 teams. And
Yes.
now they realize how important a championship game is. So
Right.
they've added one, even though it's not like traditional, like a East versus West champion. It's just
Yeah.
the top two teams, like a round robin tournament type deal.
Right. And, talking about conferences, and that's another, we're just, like I say, it's the first podcast, we're just talking, we've got some ideas, but I think it'd be interesting to talk about the conferences and the rebirth of the Big East, which was always one of the funnest football conferences to watch back in the day.
And used to be
With
the
Virginia Tech and Miami,
Yeah.
all those, man, that was some football.
yeah
right
before
there.
the ACC came in.
Yeah,
and-
Ken Dorsey at Miami, Mike Vick at Virginia. When that was exciting. But like I say, now we go to number 2, the Alabama Crimson Tide, and I'm not an Alabama hater. I'm not an Alabama fan. I'm pretty much neutral, and we're getting ready to run through it. But man, the schedule Alabama's got this year, to me, and people
and
say,
every year.
granted, they're in the West, they're in the SEC, so they're playing top teams. Don't get me wrong, but man, their non-conference schedules you're going to see this year is just, I don't know, man.
And like Alabama, like Nick Saban said, I don't know if you saw his interview where they were asking about the schedule and stuff, and he was like, we're trying to put teams on the schedule, but they're not wanting to put us on the schedule.
That's true.
So, I mean, why would you willingly go play Alabama?
That's true. That's a good point.
So, I mean, he said it's not that they're not trying. It's just nobody wants to. So the only way you can fill your schedule is to get these little teams and pay them money to come play you.
That's true.
And, that's part of the reason why you're seeing attendance drop down is because why would you want to go watch Alabama, New Mexico State when you can stay home and watch the marquee game
That's
of
true.
that week,
That's true.
in the comfort of your own home.
Right.
So, I mean, that has a lot to do with it too.
So they open the season again on the 31st. It's at 3:30, which will probably be the CBS game.
That'll be the CBS
'cause
game,
it is
which
the
is sad.
SEC. What's the SEC ACC kickoff game? I'm thinking it's in
Right.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
They open against Duke. I'd say that's not even going to be a contest. I don't
No.
think. Hopefully Duke gets out with not a lot of injuries.
Duke, they don't have their quarterback anymore.
Man, he was good too last year.
Yeah.
Top 10 draft pick, yeah.
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 He went before Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, and David Cutcliffe's a great coach.
Oh yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Peyton and Eli.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a great coach, but he's not got anything for Alabama.
No, I mean, I don't know why he's still at Duke, I guess.
He just loves coaching, man. He likes to
I
invest in
think I think it's more of like,
investing in kids.
yeah,
Lots of
exactly,
stuff.
yeah.
But, yeah, they're going to beat Duke.
New Mexico State.
They're going to kill him.
Yeah.
South Carolina, they're going to get demolished. And it's out South Carolina. Of course, that's their East team, one of their East team. Obviously, you play them every year.
Mm-hmm.
That's their other East team this year. So, yeah, they're going to beat South Carolina.
Yeah.
Southern Miss, that's going to be a win. We're undefeated still, or they are. Mississippi, easy win, I think. Texas A&M at Texas A&M, we've talked about it already. I think it could be a trap game with Texas A&M. You never know what they're going to have. So we'll see what happens.
I think, yeah.
I think they get it.
It'll be, it could potentially be a trap game.
I don't think. Yeah, it
But,
could.
I mean, Alabama's Alabama, and they should handle their business pretty good in that game, I think.
Yeah.
They didn't lose a whole lot.
No, I mean, you got Tua coming back.
You still got Jerry Jeudy. I mean,
Dylan Moses at linebacker. So yeah,
and they've always got running backs.
Yeah,
I mean,
they don't rebuild; they just reload.
Yeah.
That's the old saying. So they're I think they.
I mean, when you've got 5-star talent and you're 4 deep all the way down. I mean, just the next person up. It's so easy to
Alabama
reload.
beats. So we're gonna say Alabama over Texas A&M. Alabama over Tennessee. Sorry, it's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
Arkansas is gonna get beat. LSU, like I say, that could be the showdown right there.
And that'll be your West Championship game.
Very, very likely. Very likely.
Mississippi State.
So that's a push
easy.
game for us, yeah. LSU
Yeah, I think it's a push game.
has to be, right?
Yeah.
It is in Tuscaloosa, so that could help them.
Right now, like we're talking, like now halfway through the season, it
We
might
may
change.
change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but right now, that's definitely a push game.
Mississippi State, it's win.
Yeah.
Western Carolina. Yeah, shout out to the Catamounts. That's right. I don't know how much money they got paid. Hopefully it's worth it.
I'd say over $1 million.
But yeah, this ain't gonna be no Appalachian State Michigan upset, friends. This ain't gonna happen.
Never.
No. Western Carolina's gonna get hammered. Of course, it's hard to say. But yeah, Alabama's gonna win that game. Then Auburn, I think they beat Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Iron Bowl, and it's not gonna be.
They're not going to get to toilet paper Toomer's corner that game.
They can't because the trees are dead.
Didn't
Sorry.
they replay them?
They sure to get this thing.
I'm
done
not
that
sure.
quick. I don't know.
Yeah.
Alabama fans are crazy too. I tell you.
Auburn, Alabama.
All right, so we got Alabama going to the SEC championship. I think. Like I say, it's a push game with LSU, but I think they go to the SEC championship. And they might beat Georgia this year, and if Georgia again might beat them. I don't know. I think they're in the playoffs though.
Such a cakewalk schedule, though.
Yeah, I think so. And then we come to obviously number one, the defending national champions, Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers. They got Sunshine back, obviously, quarterback. And he's just, he's amazing.
He's probably, I'm pretty sure.
He's got to be the greatest. He's got to be top for the Heisman this year, right?
Yeah, I think he's odds-on favorite for the Heisman. Him and Tua are probably, pretty close, but I think he's the odds-on favorite at the moment. Once again, he was a Tennessee recruit at one point. I don't think he committed, but we were in the running for him. But
And Dabo Swinney's a great guy. He really is. I know you ain't a big fan, and I'm not a big Clemson fan either. But Dabo's a good coach,
for what,
and he got Brent Venables, and Brent Venables is loyal to him.
and that's why Clemson has been
I think
able to do this.
Yeah, we've talked about that. Alabama, I think it hurts them because every year you hear of an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator leaving
Or
Alabama,
somebody leaving, and they're
Yeah.
having,
and it's a start over.
it's
process.
not good for the kids to have a different offensive coordinator every year.
Right.
And like Jarrett Garantano. I mean, he's had 4 offensive coordinators in 4 years. That doesn't help you develop. But with Clemson, for whatever reason, none of those coaches want to move up. They're
That's true.
completely content being, an offensive coordinator or, a defensive coordinator. They probably pay him really well and stuff.
Yeah, Brent Venables could have just about any job in the country, I think.
Yeah. But he also has came out and said before in the past that he doesn't want the head coaching responsibilities. He just wants defense. That's all he cares about. He doesn't want all the hoopla. And Jeremy Pruitt's the same way. He SEC Media Day said, I hate doing media stuff. I can't stand it. But Dabo is one of those stories of, hey, this guy was a wide receivers coach, and they fired Tommy Bowden and said, hey, who are we going to get to coach in the interim? I was like, why don't we get the wide receivers coach? Normally it's a coordinator of some sort, but he came in and they were like, well, I mean, we liked what you did. Had a rough couple of years,
Yeah.
but for some reason, I guess he's just that charismatic with the players. Like, he's that relatable that he gets all these great players to come. And I mean, they're like Alabama now where, you know, the year before they lost all that defensive line and we were like, well, they're going to suck now.
Yeah.
And then a whole new batch of them came through.
True. And I'm not like to say I am not a Clemson fan at all. Wasn't necessarily. Yeah.
But you got to respect their grind, where they
That's
came
true.
from,
That's true.
came from, and where they are now.
The thing that kills me the most, and it ain't got nothing to do with the university. There's a lot more Clemson fans around here now than there used to be.
Well, that's any
That's
team.
how it goes.
I mean, yeah,
You know, and that just bugs me.
I never saw Golden State Warriors jerseys
No.
around here, and then they started winning championships, and that's all you see. So people like winners.
Boise State, that's
Yeah.
a prime example.
Yeah, people don't like. It's hard to root for losers.
It is.
It is. So,
But if you're a true fan,
but if you're a true fan,
you'll do it.
yeah.
Anyway, they open the season on the 29th against Georgia Tech, and that'll be a win.
Yep.
I think right there's going to be their closest game of the season against Texas A&M game 2. That's going to be their closest game on their schedule, I believe.
Well, they got Syracuse the next week, and Syracuse plays them tough.
I don't think it's going to matter.
I mean, their coach at Syracuse is
So you think
Dino Babers is. I mean, he's good. I mean, Syracuse has almost beat them the last couple of years.
Yeah, there's always that one game.
Yeah, I mean,
But
you let your guard down, and
yeah,
you
I
know
think
they're playing for nothing to lose. It's easy.
No, no.
It's always easier to play as the underdog.
And they're going, like I said, they're going to come off that Texas A&M game, and
Yeah,
it's going to be a fight.
yeah. If they win the Texas A&M game, I think
You think it's a hangover?
that Syracuse could possibly come and win that game. But if Clemson beats A&M or loses to A&M, they'll come in and just absolutely spank Syracuse because they'll have something to prove.
You got to make a point.
Yeah.
But I think they beat Texas A&M.
Yeah, I can see that.
So we'll be,
Even though Texas A&M should have beat them last year.
Right.
That's a controversial call. I won't get into that. But
everything goes right, they should beat Syracuse.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Charlotte.
No, not
game.
even.
Carolina. You know, Mac Brown, I think he's going to do some things to Carolina. Is he going
Just
to
not this year.
Well, is he going to get it from giving Clemson level? I don't know, but they'll, you know, obviously being from here, you know, Carolina's
Such an odd choice for
it's
coach.
a basketball school.
Such an odd coach.
Mac Brown?
Coaching choice, yeah.
Well, I mean, he gave him success at one time.
Yeah, but everybody hated him after he left.
I know. It's weird. I guess they're just
I guess it's the same thing if Lane Kiffin was going to come back to Tennessee.
time heals all wounds.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Florida State, they're going to beat Florida State.
Yeah.
They're going to beat Louisville. I just don't think Louisville's ready yet. Boston College is going to be a win. The poor Wofford Terriers. Obviously, they do that just because it's a South Carolina school, obviously. But
Yeah, they're helping them out by giving them money.
and you know, a lot of those kids probably dreamed of playing at Clemson or something like that at one time, and it's a good thing. But Wofford's going to get hammered. NC State's going to lose. I don't think that's going to be a game. Wake, I just don't see it happening for them either. And then South Carolina, they're going to be beat up from that schedule they got
Yeah,
this
South
year.
Carolina's going to continue to be Clemson's little brother,
Yeah, it's going to happen. So,
whether Will Muschamp wants to admit it or not.
so we're thinking they're going to
they
go
are.
undefeated. And then they'll have to obviously play in the ACC championship game. But for
I mean, yeah,
who
who
is that, you know?
That's yeah. I don't. Yeah. So our playoff teams right now would probably be Clemson.
We're going to stick with the top 4 already in the preseason? Is that what you're saying?
Oh,
Or do you think Oklahoma scoots in?
it depends on Jalen Hurts, but also you have to always think of the SEC championship game. I mean, do you leave the loser out, or if?
Good point. I think, honestly, and being realistic, I think that there's some teams in the top 10 that could end up in the top 4. I don't think Notre Dame's one that ends up in the playoff this year. I think they lose a couple games like we had talked about. Texas, I think Texas might get there. They got a shot. I think Texas has got a shot. I would love to say Florida. I don't think we're going to get in the playoffs. It's just not our year for the playoffs. We're not ready yet. LSU has a chance to be in the playoffs.
Like I said, I think the winner of LSU Alabama would probably get to the playoffs.
Michigan, like we've talked about, I don't know. We'll see if they can. You know, that's going to come down between them and Ohio State. I believe they can get in. And then Oklahoma, they got an outside shot. Obviously, they're number 5 now. So I think they got a shot. I think it's just too close to call with some of those teams in the top 10. And then you never know, there could be a team outside the top 10.
That's what I was going to say. Is there a team outside the top 10 that you feel like could make a push to a top 4 situation? I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, you've got Washington at 14. They could, possibly get up through there.
Oregon at 12.
Oregon at 12.
Justin Herbert's back.
Penn State at 13, possibly.
Yeah. I don't think Utah. I think could win the Pac-12. I don't know that they'll go undefeated and do it, but they're going to be good this year.
Yeah.
We might have a Utah-Washington rematch in the Pac-12 for the title. Or it could be Oregon. I think that's a toss. So there's 3 good teams right there in those 3. USC's always overrated, in my opinion.
Like I said, I think Washington State has some downfall after Minshew leaves.
Yeah, then I think after you get past that, I don't think there's anybody.
You don't think the UCF Knights?
Nah, I don't.
The national champions a couple years ago?
Yeah, they were good, though. Scott Frost did an amazing job.
Yeah.
So that wraps up podcast number 1.
Number 1.
Like I say, if you don't agree, that's fine. That's how it goes. But that's just our opinion.
I wouldn't expect anybody to agree, to be honest with you.
We're just doing it for fun, honestly.
Yeah.
Something we enjoy to do.
It's nice to do it off the golf course and actually record it. So now we can't go back and lie and say, "Oh no, I didn't say that," because now it's recorded.
That's right.
We can go back and be like, "Oh, I did say this."
That is right.
Yeah, so I can prove you wrong all the time now.
So we're getting close to We're getting close to the season. It's not far. Like,
y'all were the first game.
28 days, maybe. That's right after we come back from Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
That game is, and we'll have some more podcasts. And it's not just going to be college football. We're going down to training camp on the 12th for the Panthers. I'm excited about that. To seeing that, I think that's going to be fun.
Hopefully, there's not a lot of veteran days that day. So
yeah, but we're still excited. I'm excited about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. We talked about it going down there for years and never have. But.
Yeah, and then obviously Keith, got the tickets to Tennessee. He goes to all those games. He'll be able to tell us some things there. And then I usually go to a couple games with him, and then I'm going to take my dad to a game this year. So should be good.
Yeah, we just focus on college football a lot because that's our favorite sport,
And then we'll talk about the NFL, mainly the Panthers, and either fuss or praise, one or the other.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm
We'll
hoping
definitely
it's a
see
good
what
year.
happens. I'm not as scared of Cam Newton going out again as I have been in the past because I feel like we've got – Derek Anderson was a good backup, but we got Will Grier now. And from what I've seen, he's throwing dimes, and Curtis Samuel was – I think primed to make that step as the speedy slot receiver that we drafted him to be, if he can stay healthy. But yeah, that's another podcast. So
it is. I had fun.
Yeah, definitely had fun. Hour and a half later.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. See, we just fuss and argue about this stuff for years. We've done this for years. We just thought we'd record.
I'm sure if there's somebody still listening after an hour and a half, I'll be surprised.
We'll have to cut it down.
Nah.
Eventually.
All the podcasts I listen to are between an hour and 3 hours long.
Yeah.
If you listen to Joe Rogan, but first podcast in the books, and I guess I don't know when we'll get together. I guess maybe next week
Monday,
we'll do another
July
one.
the 29th.
Monday, July the 29th.
Podcast number 1 in the history.
In the history of our unnamed podcast.
Bye-bye.
Later.